I may not deserve it, he implored softly, but let me prove it to you. In that moment, the air shifted again, both of them yearning for connection amidst the storm of emotions swirling around them. She took a shuddering breath, eyes shining with unshed tears, the line between anger and love blurring in the simmering light filtered through the stained glass overhead. Zaire, she faltered, fear and longing dancing across her features. Wrenna, he whispered, hand brushing lightly against hers, an anchor in the chaos that surrounded them. The moment hung suspended, fragile yet charged, both of them balancing on the precipice of a breakthrough or an irrevocable fall. Scene 22. Collapsing Foundations. The heavy summer air settled over Wrenna Vanderbilt's inherited mansion like a thick veil, the oppressive heat causing beads of sweat to form at her temples. She found herself in the drawing room, an expanse adorned with faded floral wallpaper and high-backed chairs that spoke of old-world charm. The sunlight refracted through half-closed curtains, casting dappled shadows over the room, but even the sun's brightness couldn't lift the dark clouds hanging over her heart. Wrenna stood by the window, her gaze cast toward the lush garden outside, where roses uncurled in vivid reds and pinks. She reached out to touch one of the petals, her fingers brushing against the velvety surface, but the beauty felt distant and unattainable today. Memories of her recent encounter with Zaire Vellore crashed over her with the force of a tumultuous wave. She had glimpsed the man behind the powerful facade, but in the aftermath of their chaotic connection, a rift had developed that felt insurmountable. Wrenna, his deep voice sliced through her reverie, and she turned slowly to see him enter, the doorway framing his tall, imposing figure against the expansive garden behind him. Zaire, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. Her stomach twisted, and a flutter of anticipation mingled with anxiety. She remembered vividly how his hands had gripped her waist, how his breath had mingled with hers, igniting a spark that felt dangerously close to combusting. He stepped toward her, his dark eyes searching her own, filled with an urgency as if he might unravel her secret simply by proximity. "We need to talk," he said, his tone brokering no argument, yet a soft hint of vulnerability crept into his stance. Wrenna swallowed hard, the simple act feeling monumental. "About what? About your life? Your secrets?" She turned away, her frustration boiling underneath. "This house, it's full of ghosts, Zaire, and I don't want to be haunted by ours." A frown creased his brow, and Zaire took a step closer, closing the distance. "How can I help you if you won't let me in? I can't change what's happened, but I want you to let me show you who I really am." "Who you really are," she echoed, almost incredulously. How was she supposed to reconcile the man she barely knew with the one who had orchestrated a clandestine world woven with danger and deceit? "I don't know that man. All I see is the chaos he brings." The air grew thick with tension, moisture pooled in the corners of the room, and outside, clouds began to gather, mirroring the storm brewing between them. "You don't see what I do to protect you. I take risks." "Risks?" she interrupted, her voice rising. "You mean diving into a world of violence and crime? I can't be a part of that, Zaire." He stepped forward, brute honesty etched on his handsome features. "What if I can keep you safe in it? I'd risk everything for you." Wrenna felt her heart race as he reached for her, anchoring her with his steady presence. "You don't understand how dangerous it might get." "And what about my danger?" she challenged, feeling alive with the thrill of conflict, the heat of denial giving her courage. "You think I can just forget? You saved me, but at what cost?" Zaire pulled her close, capturing the tension in the room, their breath mingling as he lowered his voice to a hush. "The moment I saw you, Wrenna, I knew I'd do anything to see you smile again, even if it means pulling you into the storm." As the first drops of rain began to patter against the window, Wrenna's resolve began to waver. She looked up at him, her breath hitching in her throat. "What if this storm breaks us?" His hands cupped her face, their warmth banishing the chill in her heart, even if just for a moment. "Then we weather it together." And then, without thinking, she leaned in, capturing his lips with hers. The kiss started soft, tentative, but quickly deepened as passion surged through them, igniting a flame that melted away their fears. There was a frenzy to it, a reckless abandon, as if they were trying to hold on to a moment teetering on the edge of destruction. As they pulled away, breathless, the rain poured down heavier, blurring the world outside. Wrenna leaned her forehead against his, a whisper escaping her lips. You better be ready for the storm then. Scene 23, risking it all. The murmur of jazz punctuated the air, wrapping around Wrenna Vanderbilt as she stood at the grand window of her grandmother's mansion, its rich mahogany framing her silhouette like a piece of living art. The opulence of the room, delicate lace curtains fluttering with the evening breeze, ornate chandeliers glinting with soft light felt like a chasm between her past and the lingering shadows of her uncertainties. Beneath the surface calm, her heart thumped like a restless drum, caught between memories of pain and flickering hopes for happiness. She turned abruptly, her thoughts interrupted by the echoing sound of footsteps on the polished marble floor. Wrenna, Zaire Vellore's voice cut through her reverie, deep and textured like the music that wrapped around them. He stood in the doorway, his presence magnetic and electric, an aura of complexity cloaked in tailored elegance. His eyes, dark and stormy, spoke of battles fought and futures uncertain. Why are you here, Zaire? Wrenna's tone was firm, a veneer over the uncertainty rolling through her. I came to talk, he replied, stepping closer, the faint scent of sandalwood trailing him like a whisper of reassurance. He shifted nervously, his jaw tightened, revealing the underlying tension. About us. Wrenna scoffed lightly, but the bite lacked conviction. There isn't an us, you know that. She stepped back, creating a distance that felt insurmountable. Don't do that, he said, his voice deepening with concern, yet the remnants of his confidence shimmered through. Don't pretend like you don't feel it, too. He closed the gap, eyes locked onto hers, searching for a reaction, a flicker of vulnerability, perhaps. I made mistakes, Wrenna, but I'm not that man anymore. I want to prove it to you. Prove it? She arched an eyebrow, confusion layering over her disdain. By showing up here, just like that? The strands of anger and hurt in her voice cut through the evening air, sharp and keen. He clenched his fists momentarily, steel hardening his gaze. You think this is easy for me? Zaire exploded. The energy shifted palpably in the room. I've spent my entire life controlling every outcome. But for you, I'd risk it all. Damn the consequences. The breath caught in her throat. Part of her wanted to retreat, but another part, the deeper, longing part, wanted to lean in, to listen to the raw truth beneath his bravado. Why now? She pressed, needing to slice through his layers. What's changed? Because I can't stand by while I watch you spiral, he replied, the intensity in his voice wrapping around her like a cloak against the chill of past betrayals. I can't watch you suffer alone. I'd rather fight every last battle for you than let you go thinking you're not worthy of love. Her defenses slipped a fraction as longing pooled within her. And what if I don't want you battling anything? I knew who you were, Zaire. This world, the darkness, its scars. You're wrong. His words flowed earnestly, heavy with promise. The scars make us stronger. You've seen my secrets, my past, but you've never truly seen me. With a mixture of frustration and desire, she stepped closer, embers igniting beneath their simmering conflict. You think I'm supposed to just forgive you for holding your secrets hostage in the shadows? For manipulating me like one of your goddamn pawns? The temperature in the room thickened, a tension crackling like static in the air. Uncertainty volleyed between them, as Wrenna's heart raced with the recognition that maybe, just maybe, a piece of her yearned for the chaos he embodied. We can stop being pawns, he said, his voice low, mesmerizing. Or chess pieces in someone else's game. I've made my choice. I'm risking it all, Wrenna. For you. For us. The distance between them dissolved, allowing space for unspoken feelings to bloom. She could feel the warmth radiating from him, the intensity of a burning question hanging in the air. Would she let him in? I won't wait forever, she murmured, the defiance in her voice fading. A smile flickered across his lips, a hint of triumph threaded through his expression. Then neither will I. But Wrenna, I'm not afraid to make the first move. As he leaned closer, the world around them faded, leaving only the weight of his gaze and the pulse of shared hope in the room. In that moment, the boundaries of their past began to blur, creating space for a new path together. Scene 24. Plans of revenge. The air inside the dilapidated mansion felt thick, almost suffocating, as Wrenna Vanderbilt paced the grand foyer, the sunlight filtering through stained glass, casting a kaleidoscope of colors on the dusty wooden floor. The echoes of her footsteps mingled with the collective memory of a life once lived within these walls. For Wrenna, the mansion represented both heritage and imprisonment, its crumbling grandeur mirroring her emotional turmoil. She could feel the weight of the past pressing down on her, but there was a new edge to her determination, sharpened by the injustice she had seen wrought by the syndicate tearing at her family's legacy. Zaire Vellore leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, a watchful guardian. His dark eyes flickered with concern, the intensity of which both exhilarated and unnerved her. "We can't just sit here, Wrenna," he urged, his voice low yet potent like the rumble of a distant storm. "I won't let them take what's rightfully yours." Turning to look at him, Wrenna felt the air shift between them, charged with underlying tension. "I know, but what options do we really have? They're deeply embedded in the city, Zaire. Confronting them could be more dangerous than we realize." Her voice hinted at uncertainty, but there was a fire beneath it, an ember waiting to ignite. Zaire stepped closer, the scent of cedar and sandalwood enveloping her senses, grounding her with an unexpected sense of safety. "I can gather resources, friends, people who owe me favors. We can retrieve those documents and expose their operations. Justice isn't just our goal, we need to dismantle them." His words hung in the air, resolute and fiery. Wrenna took a moment, her heart racing, as his proximity intensified the mix of fear and thrill coursing through her veins. What if exposing them puts you in danger? The vulnerability in her voice cut through the bravado, revealing the compassionate heart that beat beneath her fierce exterior. "I've already placed myself in danger the moment I became involved. Being afraid won't help the ones we love." His gaze softened, the fierce protector in his eyes yielding to the complexities of their budding connection. "You have to trust me, Wrenna." A flicker of something deeper passed between them, a shared understanding, a bond growing from the rubble of their fears. Wrenna felt a surge of emotion, her chest tightening as she thought about the risk they were taking, not just for her family but for themselves too. "Trust isn't easy, Zaire. It's something I've lost sight of." "I know." He leaned in, his voice barely above a whisper, as if he could stir the world around them with his presence alone. "But remember, you're stronger than you realize. This fight, it's not just for you, it's for your whole family legacy." "Are we really prepared for this?" Wrenna swallowed the lump in her throat, feeling the flutter of adrenaline course through her. "What if?" she faltered, the weight of possibility hanging like storm clouds above them. Before she could finish, Zaire closed the distance, taking her hand and giving it a reassuring squeeze. "We will fight them together. Whatever happens, you won't have to face it alone." The urgency in his words sparked recognition. In that connection of vulnerability and strength, Wrenna's resolve solidified. "Then let's gather your allies," she said, steeling herself. "Let's expose them." Zaire's lips curled into a small smile, the hint of mischief breaking through the seriousness. "Now you're talking. Just don't be surprised when I get carried away and stage a full-on assault. I've always wanted to crash a villain's lair." Wrenna chuckled, the tension ebbing slightly as she noticed the mischievous glint in his eyes. "Do you always have to dramatize everything? We need precision, not chaos." "Chaos is my specialty," Zaire grinned, the smirk revealing a flash of the excitement that brewed beneath his cool exterior. "But if you're the voice of reason, I suppose I could tone it down, just a smidge." "You'd better," Wrenna smirked back, emboldened by his banter. "Let's show them what happens when you mess with the Vanderbilt family. Together, we'll be unstoppable." Zaire's expression shifted, the gravity of their mission uniting them, fierce determination mingling with unspoken feelings simmering just beneath the surface. "But remember, no more holding back." With purpose ignited, Wrenna felt the warmth of his hand release hers, yet the spark lingered, electric. They were set to confront their fears, wrapped in the shadow of a legacy, desires igniting like flames in the dark. "All right then," she said, a newfound confidence evident in her tone. "Let's begin the plan. What's first?" "First," Zaire replied, voice steady, eyes resolute, "we prepare for war." Scene 25, the power shift. The echo of a distant jazz band filled the dimly lit lounge, resonating like a heartbeat through the vibrant air of the Richmond nightclub where Zaire and Wrenna had chosen to meet their potential allies. Wrenna leaned closer to Zaire in the crowded corner booth, her eyes scanning the room. "Do you really think they'll back us?" Her voice was barely above a whisper, simmering with uncertainty. Zaire regarded her, the flickering candlelight casting deep shadows across his face. His jaw clenched momentarily, revealing the tension that lay beneath his calm facade. "They will. They want power, and we're their best chance at it," he replied, his voice low, intentional. He met her gaze, the warmth of his presence grounding her amidst the swirling chaos of brightly suited men and elegantly dressed women. As Wrenna absorbed his confidence, she couldn't help but feel a spark of courage flicker to life within her. But alongside that flame danced a shadow of doubt. She brushed her fingers against the cool ceramic of her coffee cup, contemplating the gravity of their plan. What if they betray us? Zaire's dark eyes bore into hers, lingering and heavy. 800 years of family history in this city. They wouldn't dare. He leaned closer, the intoxicating scent of him, a mix of sandalwood and something uniquely his, pulled her in further. Just then, a raucous burst of laughter interrupted their moment, drawing her attention to a nearby table where two of Zaire's rivals reveled in their posturing. Wrenna's gaze flickered back to Zaire, her heart racing as she sensed the tension mounting. "And what about you? You're not just a pawn to them, are you?" His lips quirked into a half smile, a mixture of amusement and something deeper. "In this game, my love, I'm the whole board." The weight of his words hung in the air like a challenge, urging her to step beyond her fears. Suddenly, as if on cue, the door swung open, allowing a frigid gust of wind to intrude upon the warmth of the room. A tall figure, clad in a sharp navy suit, stormed in, his expression grim. The atmosphere shifted, and Wrenna felt the hairs on the back of her neck stand up. "Zaire," the newcomer said, fixing his gaze on him. "You're not playing this right. It's dangerous." With a subtle shift, Zaire rose to his full height, a presence that commanded respect and a trace of unease. "David, I don't need warnings. I need allies," he replied tersely, the tension in his voice palpable. Wrenna sensed an escalating conflict as David's eyes flicked momentarily to her and then back to Zaire. Bringing her into this, the girl with the broken heart, she could ruin everything. Zaire stepped forward, closing the space between them. "Wrenna is not a liability. She's my partner. If you can't see that, you're no ally of mine." The vengeance in his tone was potent, stoked by frustration and protectiveness. Wrenna felt a rush of warmth at his declaration, but it fizzled when she noticed David's slight smirk. "Good luck with that," he retorted, stepping back with a dismissive wave. "You'll need it." Realizing the precariousness of their situation, Wrenna placed a hand on Zaire's arm, her fingers curling around the muscle beneath his shirt sleeve. "Let's get out of here. This isn't worth our time." Zaire hesitated, his eyes searching hers with a mix of concern and appreciation. "I won't let them intimidate you, Wrenna. They're scared of us together. They're scared of what we can do." Her heart raced at his words, igniting a passion within her that she hadn't acknowledged before. "So let's show them," Wrenna replied, determination lining her voice. With a fiery glint in his eyes, Zaire moved closer, the world around them fading into the background. He lowered his forehead to hers, a gesture so raw it sent currents of electricity racing through her. "Together, we can take Richmond." The distance between them evaporated as Zaire captured her mouth with his. The kiss was both fierce and soft, igniting a whirlwind of emotions that spun them into a moment untainted by doubt. Wrenna felt everything, the heat of the moment, the taste of him, and the intoxicating pull of their shared destiny. As they broke apart, breathless and charged, Wrenna's pulse raced, matched only by Zaire's fervent gaze. "Are you ready?" he asked, the weight of their impending challenge pressing against them but bolstered by a newfound strength. "More than ever," she assured him, her spirit rekindled, ready to face whatever else the night held. The jazz band played on, but in that moment, they were the tune that held the room captive, the power shift starting with a promise neither of them could deny. Scene 26. Love in Conflict. Morning sunlight streamed through the grand windows of Wrenna's inherited mansion, casting warm patterns across the polished wooden floor. She stood in the kitchen, her hands dusted with flour, as she kneaded dough for the rustic bread that Zaire had always loved. The air was fragrant with the scent of freshly ground spices, mingling with the earthy aroma of molasses. Each press of her palm against the dough felt cathartic, a temporary distraction from the tempest of emotions roiling within her. As the clock chimed to signal the hour, she glanced toward the doorway. Zaire appeared, his silhouette strong against the light, a man forged in shadows, yet captivating under the sun's embrace. He had changed the game for her, and she wasn't sure if she was ready. They were entangled now, their lives woven together by threads of loyalty and secrets, dark secrets that hung heavy in the air between them. "Smells amazing," Zaire said, his voice smooth like the syrup he loved. He placed a hand on the countertop, leaning forward ever so slightly, an intensity in his gaze that made her heart race. "I'm just trying something new." Wrenna turned back to the dough, hiding the heat spreading across her cheeks. The past weeks had transformed their connection into something electric, pulsing with tension and unspoken words. Her fingers worked the dough, squeezing it as if it could ease the anxious flutter in her chest. Zaire stepped closer, invading her personal space, the heat radiating from his body contrasting with the coolness of the kitchen. "New is good," he said, the hint of a smile playing on his lips. "But what I want to know is, what do you think of old?" Wrenna's heartbeat quickened, and she met his dark eyes, a storm of longing and doubt in their depths. "What do you mean?" "Us, Wrenna. This whatever this is, it's like trying to blend fiction with history. It can be beautiful, but also dangerous." He reached out, brushing a stray curl behind her ear, his fingers lingering on her jaw, and for one intoxicating moment, time suspended. "Dangerous?" she repeated, her breath caught in her throat. "Like a perfect recipe gone wrong," he mused, his thumb grazing her cheek. "Or like a fire that you can't put out, even when you want to." "Are you saying I'm a fire?" she asked, a breathy laugh escaping her lips, a mix of nerves and genuine amusement, momentarily lightening the mood. "More like an inferno," he replied, an appreciative glint in his eye. The tension pivoted, subtle shifts in their posture spoke volumes, the weight of unexpressed feelings swirling in the kitchen's atmosphere. Wrenna swallowed hard, letting the teasing banter ebb, the moment shifting to something heavier. "You have to understand, Zaire, I've faced more flames than I can count. Sometimes I'm afraid that I'll get burned again." She clutched the dough, as if seeking reassurance from the texture beneath her fingertips. "Then let me be the firekeeper," Zaire said, his voice firm yet gentle, the promise of safety wrapped in vulnerability. "I want to protect what we have, but you need to trust me." She looked at him, her stomach twisting with uncertainty. The feeling of his proximity was the kind that ignited sparks and confused her heart. Zaire was both a man of power and a keeper of chaos, and though drawn to him, she warily skirted around the edges of his world, a world ruled by danger and obligation. But he softly lifted her chin, forcing her to meet his gaze. "This doesn't have to be about fear, Wrenna. It can be about passion, about embracing what life has thrown at us." His breath brushed against her lips, lingering in the electric space between them. Wrenna felt an exhilarating thrill rush through her. "And yet, it's both, isn't it?" She leaned closer, their breaths mingling in the charged air, each second stretching into eternity, offering the unspoken possibility of connection that both terrified and excited her. "Absolutely," he murmured, his voice a low caress that enveloped her. "But together, we can handle anything." In that moment, Wrenna closed the distance, their lips brushing softly at first, a shockwave of yearning and anticipation rippling through her as their kiss deepened. It was as if each lingering touch melded their worlds together, the danger, the laughter, and the looming shadows of the past intertwining, insatiable. As the kiss lingered, Wrenna thought, for once, maybe I don't need to fear the fire. Maybe I can dance in the flames. Scene 27. Storm on the horizon. The dawn light streamed through the lace curtains of Wrenna's inherited mansion, casting intricate patterns on the hardwood floor, a beautiful facade masking the chaos brewing just outside its walls. In the kitchen, the scent of fresh coffee mingled oddly with the fleeting aroma of burnt toast, hinting at a morning that had gotten away from her. Wrenna flipped the toast absent-mindedly, eyes flickering to the window as storm clouds began to gather, darkening the morning sky. "Wrenna, is this breakfast or a fire hazard?" The deep, teasing voice of Zaire Vellore slid smoothly through the air, laced with that signature charm that always managed to make her heart race. He leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, his presence electric and comforting all at once. Wrenna rolled her eyes, a smile breaking through her initial tension. Burnt toast is a delicacy in some cultures, Zaire. You wouldn't understand. She waggled her eyebrows playfully, striving to keep the mood light despite her stomach churning with anxiety. Zaire stepped into the kitchen, the air around him vibrating with barely contained energy. Deliciously disastrous, maybe. You tend to need a fire extinguisher with your delicacies. He approached the counter, peering over the edge of the toaster as if he expected it to explode any moment. You know, I never pegged you as the culinary type. Wrenna met his gaze directly, a flicker of vulnerability surfacing. It's not like I intended to pursue a cooking career, Zaire. I'm not exactly known for my craftsmanship in the kitchen. I've been more focused on learning to manage my, life. Her tone became softer, laden with her unspoken fears. Your life? He asked, tilting his head. Things have been complicated lately, haven't they? The skins of power behind his words urged a deeper honesty. Yes, they have. Wrenna turned to face the toaster, scrubbing at the charred surface more vigorously than necessary, each motion a reflection of her mind racing ahead. With you, with the mansion, and everything happening in the city, it feels like the world is closing in. Wrenna, you don't have to bear this weight alone, Zaire replied, stepping beside her, their shoulders almost brushing. The closeness ignited a warmth that conflicted with the cool dread of uncertainty looming over them. I'm here to share it, whatever it is. Are you really? She shot back, voice rising with insecurity. Every time you leave to deal with your business, she emphasized the word with a cutting edge, it feels like I'm playing a part in a story far beyond my control. She turned to him. Emotions unleashed, the words spilling out sorrow for her own vulnerability, anger at the situation they were caught in. Zaire's expression shifted from teasing to serious, a dark shadow crossing his face. I never wanted this for you. This, he gestured around the kitchen, now fraught with tension, was meant to be a safe haven, but the syndicate won't let us breathe, let alone be happy. As the chilling reality settled between them, Wrenna's heart danced with trepidation. I can't just sit here while you put yourself in danger. She dropped the cloth and stepped closer, vulnerability radiating from her every syllable. If something happens to you, nothing will happen to me, Zaire said, interrupting, his deep voice laced with urgency. I won't let them take you, and I won't let them take me. His gaze held hers, the heat of unyielding determination replacing the lightness they shared moments before. But you can't guarantee it, Zaire. Wrenna's voice cracked, the storm outside mirrored by the tempest within. Every choice you make could put us in more danger. He caught her hands, grounding them both. Every choice I make is for us, Wrenna. You have to realize that. You matter more to me than anything. It wasn't just his words, but the fervent sincerity behind them that ventured into her guarded heart. Wrenna's eyes glistened, an unexpected wave of emotion washing over her, challenging the storm inside. I want to trust you. It's just so terrifying. And that's okay. It's okay to be scared. Just don't push me away, he murmured, slowly leaning closer. The intensity of the moment hung like the charged air before a thunderstorm, potent and ripe with possibilities. I won't, she promised, breathless and entranced. They stood there suspended in a moment of tenderness, a cocoon of understanding enveloping them. The world outside faded, the looming troubles brushed aside by the storm inside her heart. Zaire's face softened, desire mingling with reassurance. Let me carry this storm. We'll face whatever it brings together, I swear it, he whispered. And as the first raindrops began to cascade down the window, Wrenna nodded, feeling the weight of his resolve merge with her own burgeoning strength. Together then. Scene 28, Unbreakable Bonds. The mansion stood ominous yet inviting against the backdrop of twilight. Its once magnificent stones, now weathered, seemed to breathe with the memories of generations past. Shadows danced across the ornate chandeliers, casting whimsical patterns against the richly colored walls, where Wrenna Vanderbuilt had poured her heart into restoring the family legacy. Though the air was cool, a palpable warmth enveloped her as she stepped into the grand foyer, filled with the scent of aged wood and the faintest trace of lavender from the bouquet she'd plucked that morning. Zaire Vellore leaned against the marble banister, his silhouette framed by the fading light. He exuded a quiet strength, a stillness that belied the tempest swirling around them. His presence grounded her, yet stirred an unsettling combination of excitement and fear within her. Zaire, Wrenna began, the weight of their shared secrets hanging heavily in the air. He pushed off the banister, every movement deliberate. Wrenna. His voice was low, a rumble of thunder that promised storms ahead. I don't know how much longer I can keep pretending everything's fine, she admitted, her hand reaching instinctively for one of the family portraits, tracing the outline of her grandmother. She felt the pull of memories, a tether to the past that collided with her present. This house, it feels like a trap sometimes. You're not trapped, Zaire reassured, his gaze unwavering as he closed the distance between them. The space crackled with unspoken truths, and Wrenna could feel her heart racing. You have a choice. We can confront this together. Silence swelled as they stood there, the weight of his words resting on her like a cloak. The air thickened, laden with so many emotions that Wrenna couldn't tell where one ended and the other began. Zaire reached out, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear, a simple gesture that sent a shiver down her spine. What if us isn't enough? She whispered, fearing the vulnerability that coursed through her. Her eyes darted to his, searching for reassurance, for clarity. His brow furrowed, a mixture of determination and softness swirling in the depths of his gaze. Wrenna, after everything we've faced, that connection, it's more than enough. He paused, lowering his voice, inviting her into intimacy. You make me want to be better. She inhaled sharply, the ache of longing palpable. There was a time when she had vowed never to let anyone in again, yet here she stood, a moth to his flame. Better how? She pressed, intrigued and terrified. Better for you, Zaire replied, stepping even closer so that she could hear the subtle thrum of his heartbeat. I want to protect you, not just from the dangers outside this house, but from the shadows lurking in your mind as well. Wrenna felt heat rising to her cheeks, the flush mingling with a rush of adrenaline. You don't know me, she said. You can't save someone who doesn't want to be saved. With a gentle tug, he captured her chin, forcing her to meet his fierce gaze. I can, if you let me. There's strength in vulnerability, Wrenna. Let me in. Time suspended as Wrenna searched his expression, recognizing a delicate balance of fervor and gentleness. The air between them shimmered, woven with tension, electric and tender all at once. The mansion, with its walls of heritage and memories, faded into the background as all that existed in that moment was them two souls bound by trials, fire, and a longing that felt inevitable. She began, faltering, overwhelmed by the promise in his eyes. Just be with me, Wrenna, he urged softly, squeezing her hand ever so slightly. We face whatever comes next together. The uncharacteristic honesty in his voice cut through her defenses. There was a profound truth hidden beneath childhood fears, a life waiting to be embraced if only she could step forward. Yes, she finally breathed, a woman tethered to her burgeoning resolve, squeezing his hand back. Together. Their hearts beat in unison, an unbreakable bond forming in the hushed sanctuary of the mansion. And as Zaire gently pulled her into his arms, the world outside faded, leaving only the warmth of their closeness, the promise contained in that shared embrace, a gesture that spoke of love transforming from fear into fervor. We'll get through this, Zaire murmured against her hair, his breath a warm gust that sent a thrill down her spine. No matter what. Together, Wrenna echoed softly, resting her head against him, a quiet strength blooming within as the future unfolded before them, a tapestry of uncertainty and hope, interwoven by fragile trust. Scene 29, Revelation and Redemption. The sunlight flickered through the tall windows of Wrenna's grandmother's mansion, dappling the wooden floor with a soft golden glow. Outside, the sky was a tumult of dark clouds, promising a storm that hovered just beyond the horizon. Wrenna stood in the grand library, the scent of aged paper and rich mahogany filling her senses. She meticulously sorted through the scattered documents on her grandmother's desk, a chaotic mess of letters, photographs, and cryptic notes that could either unravel mysteries or plunge her deeper into confusion. Wrenna, Zaire's voice broke through her concentration, warm and resonant, yet laced with an uncharacteristic tension. He leaned against the doorframe, his dark eyes fixed on her, a storm of emotions mirrored in the encroaching weather. We need to talk. Wrenna glanced up, her heart quickening at the sight of him. He was striking, even under the subdued light, the contours of his face shadowed yet strikingly handsome. There was a depth in his expression that frightened her. "Is it about the documents?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. But something in his demeanor suggested it was more than paperwork that lay in wait. Partly, he stepped closer, closing the distance between them, the air thick with unspoken words and a charged tension. "But what I found goes deeper than just our investigation." As he moved beside her, Wrenna caught a whiff of wood polish mixed with the faint scent of cologne, distinct and intoxicating. The proximity wrapped around her like a warm blanket, igniting something within her that she thought had long been dormant. "I found this." Zaire picked up a photo, its edges frayed and discolored, revealing a gathering that looked like it belonged to another era. In it stood Wrenna's grandmother, her beauty radiant, surrounded by men in fine suits, each bearing an air of danger. The atmosphere seemed to pulse with secrets. "Your grandmother was more involved than we realized. This syndicate, it's rooted deeper in your family than you know." Wrenna swallowed hard, her mouth dry. "What do you mean?" "Betrayal isn't just a term, it's a reality, Wrenna. Someone close to your family orchestrated this." She blinked, her mind racing. "Who? Tell me everything." "Not here," he insisted, his eyes glinting with urgency. "It's not safe. We need to go." Just as she opened her mouth to protest, the skies unleashed a torrent of rain, sheets of water racing down the window. The cacophony seemed to fuel the intensity simmering between them. "Wrenna, please." His voice softened, a hint of desperation breaking through his normally impenetrable facade. "Trust me. Let's find somewhere safe first." There was a conflict within her. She could sense how much was at stake, yet felt a strange, magnetic pull toward him. "All right," she conceded, her voice barely above a whisper, almost drowned out by the storm's roar. But before they could step away from the desk, a loud crash resonated from somewhere deeper in the mansion. Wrenna turned, startled. "What was that?" "Stay close." Zaire glanced to the door, muscles tensing. Even the air around them shifted, thickening with danger. Wrenna instinctively moved closer, their arms brushing against each other. The sensation sent a bolt of energy through her. Just then, Zaire leaned down, his lips hovering near her ear, a breath of warmth sending shivers racing down her spine. "We're in this together, remember?" His words resonated, enveloping her in a fierce sense of loyalty, a promise painted in the urgency of the world outside. Their eyes locked, the weight of vulnerability laid bare, drawing closer as if they were the only two souls amidst the chaos. She felt his breath ghost over her skin, anticipation hanging heavy in the air. The world faded. It was merely them, a tempest of emotion swirling around as he leaned closer. Their lips met, a gentle collision that ignited a fierce blaze. Everything else melted away, the sounds of the storm, the shadows looming just beyond the door. Wrenna's heart soared as she surrendered to the moment, the kiss encompassing both longing and a fierce battle against their troubling circumstances. Just as the spark of intimacy deepened, a distant shout echoed from outside, pulling them both back to the reality they couldn't escape. Wrenna broke the kiss but lingered close, breathless, eyes locked on his. "We need to go now," she urged. "Yes," he replied fervently, a storm of his own swirling in those deep-set eyes, coloring the moment with a sweet tension that could not be denied. Their hearts racing, they stepped into the torrent, ready to face whatever was waiting for them outside. Scene 30. Confronting the boss. The air was thick with tension as Wrenna Vanderbuilt and Zaire Vellore approached the secluded warehouse, its metal exterior a stark contrast against the autumn foliage. The world outside bustled with life, bright leaves spiraling, yet here it was a graveyard of sound, only the distant scratching of the wind beneath the eaves breaking the silence. As they neared the heavy door, Wrenna could feel her heart thudding in her chest, each pulse a reminder of the stakes involved. The heavy scent of machine oil and dust played at the edges of her senses, grounding her in the present, pushing against the wave of panic threatening to surge forth. Zaire paused, his silhouette hard against the dim light filtering through the grimy windows. He turned to her, the sharp angles of his face softened under a wry smile, though it didn't quite reach his eyes. "Ready?" he asked, his voice a low rumble that echoed through the stark emptiness. Wrenna hesitated, her voice almost a whisper. "Do we have a choice?" She studied him, this man who embodied both danger and allure, caught in the web of familial ties and clandestine dealings. He nodded, a firm reassurance before turning back to the door. A single shove sent the door swinging open, revealing the cavernous interior thick with shadows. The acrid smell of sweat and smoke hit Wrenna like a wave. Illuminated by stark overhead lights, the leader of the syndicate, Cole Thompson, sat casually atop a table strewn with documents and weapons, his bored demeanor belying the danger hovering in the air. "Vellore," he greeted, smirking as his gaze flicked over to Wrenna, a glint of amusement in his eyes. "And the pretty painter joins us. To what do I owe this? Delightful surprise?" Wrenna stepped forward, a flame of defiance igniting within her. "We're not here to play games, Cole. We demand answers." Cole leaned back, resting his arms behind his head, a picture of cavalier indifference. "Demand? That's bold of you, little girl. You're in my territory now." He chuckled, shooting a glance at Zaire. "You should control your woman better." Zaire's expression darkened, flames of jealousy and protectiveness igniting in his chest. "Watch your mouth," he warned, his voice a low growl. Wrenna felt the intensity of his stare, the heat radiating off of him as he stepped ever closer to Cole. Wrenna interjected, a firm hand on Zaire's arm to ground him. "This isn't about bravado. It's about who put a target on our backs." Her eyes locked with Cole's, unwavering. "I want to know why my family is connected to your business and who's pulling the strings." Cole leaned in, the shadows dancing across his face, transforming it into a mask of intrigue and menace. "Your grandmother didn't just bake cookies and tend gardens, Wrenna. She was a player in this game." The room fell silent, a heavy pause hanging thick in the air before Zaire broke it, his voice a harsh whisper. "You're lying." Cole straightened, a glint of amusement flickering in his eyes. "Am I? Or are you too busy burying your head in the sand to see the truth?" Wrenna clenched her fists, the edges of her frustration splintering into anger. "So, you're telling me you had nothing to do with why I inherited that house? Why suddenly my life turned into a hell of threats? You're hiding something, and it's time for the truth." A smile curled on Cole's lips, mocking yet dangerously concealing. "Oh, there's plenty of truth, darling, but truth can be a tricky business." Zaire stepped forward, the air crackling with tension, his voice steady but loaded. "You work with criminals, Cole. You know the price of deception. Just give us the answers, or you'll have more to deal with than just my past." He gestured between them, a physical manifestation of the tumultuous history they were mired in. The challenge in Zaire's tone was palpable, and Wrenna felt the air between them shift, a current of passion threading through the chaos. Despite the heat of the moment, his presence wrapped around her like a warm embrace, grounding her even amidst fear. Cole's expression hardened, the light in the room dimming with his shift in mood. "You think you can threaten me? You're nothing more than a hired gun's errand boy." Zaire's eyes narrowed, tension rolling like thunder. "And you're just a coward hiding behind your empire of lies." In that moment, Wrenna knew they were playing for keeps. The stakes had never been higher, and the fiery connection she shared with Zaire fused their destinies more tightly than any challenge she faced alone. "Let's find out how far you're willing to go then," she said, her voice echoing with a strange blend of resolve and vulnerability, declaring war on a world that sought to control them both. Scene 31. Truth and Consequence. The living room of the historic Vanderbilt mansion radiated an uneasy stillness, punctured only by the sound of thunder rumbling in the distance. Shadows danced along the walls, flickering past the priceless art adorned with history, each piece laden with secrets of its own. Wrenna Vanderbilt stood by the grand bay window, her breath fogging the glass as raindrops began to splatter against the panes, a storm brewing outside echoing the tempest within her. Zaire Vellore, clad in a leather jacket, shifted in the doorway, his eyes locked onto Wrenna. Every step toward her felt like a risk, the palpable tension poised on the edge of something catastrophic. She turned, startled, and he felt the shift in the air, the unsaid words hanging heavy between them. "Wrenna," he said, his voice low, "we need to talk about what happened last night." A tense silence fell, thick enough to cut through. "Is that what you call it?" she scoffed, the fire in her eyes igniting in response to his authority. "Because when I think of secrecy and betrayal, talk doesn't seem quite fitting." Zaire pinched the bridge of his nose, battling the wariness creeping into his bones. The truth, it had a cruel way of revealing itself. "I didn't want you to find out like that." "Oh, really? How did you want me to find out?" She ran her fingers through her curls in frustration, pacing away from him like a caged bird, wings flaring, but not knowing how to take flight. "Did you want to slip it into conversation over tea? By the way, I'm the anonymous benefactor of your recovery and also involved in the crime world, just so you know." "It's not as simple as that," he replied, his voice calm but laced with urgency. Two sets of eyes turned to the sound of the door creaking open. Their friend, Maya, slipped into the room, her usual buoyant spirit dimmed. "What's going on in here? You both look like you've seen a ghost." "Maya, this isn't the time," Wrenna snapped, not missing a beat. Zaire stepped closer to Wrenna, their collective frustration drawing them barely inches apart. "This is about more than just secrets. It's about you." His tone shifted unexpectedly, dropping its edge for something softer. "Wrenna, maybe you don't see it, but you matter more than you think. And What you did matters too, Zaire," she interrupted, her voice trembling, a mix of passion and pain. "It's a betrayal wrapped in a pretty bow. You can't just buy your way into people's lives and call it love." "Love," he echoed, the word hanging between them, thick and heavy. There was vulnerability in his gaze, a glimmer of the man beneath the crime lord facade. "That's how I feel about you. I want to protect you from the consequences of my actions. We could use less protection and a little more honesty in this relationship." She swept her hand toward the chaos of emotions simmering in the room, including Maya's growing concern. "Maya, you're not helping." Wrenna's frustration was palpable. As Maya cleared her throat, her voice a gentle lilt. "Okay, but can we just step back for a second? All relationships have layers," she said, seeking to diffuse the charged atmosphere. "Maybe what Zaire is trying to express gets lost in translation. You both have a lot to lose." "He's the one who took a chance with my life without saying a word." Wrenna shot back, eyes piercing Zaire's, searching for truth amidst the storms. "How can you defend that?" Zaire stepped closer again, raising a hand in a placating gesture, but it was Maya who swiftly caught the tension. "Okay," she began, a grin suddenly breaking the tension. "But has anyone considered that while this might look like a dramatic fight, we could also be preparing for the plot twist of the century here?" A pause lingered as laughter lingered around the room, easing the tension just enough for Wrenna's heartbeat to slow. The warmth of their familiarity softened the harsh edge of reality. "What do you mean?" Wrenna asked, her voice lowering, curiosity peaking above irritation. "Think about it." Maya waved her arms dramatically. "Secret benefactor? Crime lord? It's practically a soap opera waiting to happen. But then," she turned serious, "you two could also end up being that couple who bravely walks into a wild storm and finds the strength to face it together." Wrenna and Zaire exchanged glances, realizing that within all the chaos and hurt, there lay a possibility, if they were willing to push through the storm. "Maybe we start over," Zaire murmured, his dampened tone impossible to ignore. "With nothing but the truth." "Nothing but the truth," Wrenna echoed softly, heart racing. In that moment of shared unguardedness, the distance between them began to dissolve as something stronger brewed in the silence, ripe with possibility. Scene 32, setting the trap. The cool, amber glow of lamplight poured into the expansive drawing room of Vanderbilt Manor, casting elongated shadows against the intricately patterned wallpaper. The air was thick with the scent of aged wood, hinting at the mansion's storied past and mingling with the faint smell of fresh coffee. Wrenna Vanderbilt stood at the large, mahogany table in the center of the room, her fingertips grazing the surface, as if seeking the strength that had made this historic home hers. Outside, the wind rustled the leaves in a gentle whisper, yet inside, tension crackled like static. Zaire Vellore leaned against the grand fireplace, his presence commanding and fierce. Dressed in a dark tailored suit that followed the slope of his athletic form, he commanded the room without uttering a word. His deep-set eyes watched Wrenna with a mixture of admiration and concern, the flickering flames illuminating the sharp angles of his face. "We need to make sure they take the bait," he said, his tone steady. "I know," Wrenna replied, her voice barely above a whisper, yet firm. The weight of her recent past pressed heavy against her chest, like a phantom clutching her heart. What if they don't? What if we're wrong about them taking this seriously? Zaire pushed off the wall, crossing the space between them with measured strides, the hardwood floor creaking under his weight like an anxious heartbeat. "We'll be ready. I have eyes in every corner. If things go south—" "Zaire," she interrupted, a flash of vulnerability cutting through her resolve. "What if this is too dangerous? What if they come for us?" He paused, meeting her gaze with an intensity that threatened to unravel her anxieties. "Then we fight. Together." A heavy silence enfolded them, a moment where the ticking clock on the mantel became the only sound. Wrenna felt the knot in her stomach tighten, but there was an undeniable warmth in his words, an unaddressed promise in his dark gaze. "Do you truly think we stand a chance against the syndicate?" she asked, her heart pounding like a drum in the silence of the room.